Good evening to you. Good to be with you. Today we're going to continue our thoughts on John chapter 16. John chapter 16, we're looking at Jesus when he is preparing his disciple for his death. He's preparing them, encouraging them, and thus also encouraging us as we look at this. These men, he had been with them for over 3 years, talking, teaching, encouraging them, showing, this is going to say, he has been showing them who he was. Showing them. And basically you see that he showed them who he was. And then towards the end, he's beginning to teach him who he is. And then towards the end, I'm going to tell you the close too. He is going to show them who they need to be. And this is how it's divided up, I believe, in the time that he spent with his apostles. We are in 16 and 16 tonight looking. It says, Jesus said, a little while and you will not see me. And again, a little while and you will see me, because I go to the Father. Then some of his disciples said among themselves, what is this that he said to us? And what is this that he said to us? A little while and you will not see me. And again, a little while and you will see me again, because I go to the Father. Then they said, therefore, what is this that he said? Notice, a little while, and we do not know what he is saying. They said, hey, we don't know what he's saying. Now, Jesus knew that they desired to ask him, and he said to him, notice, he said, are you inquiring among yourself about what I said? A little while, and you will not see me, and again a little while, and you will see me. Most assuredly, I say to you, that you will weep and lament, but the world will rejoice, and you will be scorned, and you will have sorrow, but your sorrow will be turned into joy. He said, hey, you won't see me. The world, he's talking about his crucifixion, how the people, the priest, the high priest, and those, they were so happy to finally get rid and have Jesus gone. They was rejoicing at this time. But of course we know that his mother and his apostles, they wept at what had happened. But he said, he used an analogy here in verse 21. It says, a woman, when she is in labor, has sorrow because her hour has come. But as soon as she has given birth to the child, she no longer remember the anguish for her joy, for that joy that a human being has been born into the world. You know, I love that analogy. I've been with women. Some of my own grandchildren. I've been there when they was born, and their mothers in agony. Oh, I felt. You talk about tearing a man up when he see his own child in sorrow. I mean, really, it just got me hurting because I could hear him. But then it just something, all of a sudden the baby's there, and all of a sudden I look across the curtain, and you don't see a young lady that's mourning, but you see a young lady that all of a sudden got a smile across her face and joy in her eyes. Hey, wait a minute, just a little while ago she was screaming. And then all of a sudden, you know, that is, he's trying to tell them. And I think every one of them probably had seen a woman or heard a woman and saw what he was talking about. He didn't have the hospitals we do today. It wasn't like me in an emergency room when a child was born and stuff. We don't get to see that. I wish we did. I wish more people could understand what he's talking about. He's talking about here the joy that could come after so much pain, but pain that was worth so much. It says, therefore, verse 22, therefore you now have sorrow, but I will see you again, and your heart will rejoice, and your joy no one will take what? Take from you. No one's going to take that joy that you're going to have, that joy that you have. And it says, in that day you will ask me nothing. Most assuredly, I say to you, whatsoever you ask the Father in my name, he will give you. You know, here we can see that we don't, this is, a lot of people don't understand. We don't ask Jesus. We don't pray to Jesus. If we did, we'd be breaking what Jesus told us. We pray to God. God is God. There is only one God. But it says, Jesus gave his blood and you asked it in my name. It's almost like somebody, have you ever had a friend or somebody to tell you to go up and apply for a job or something like that? Said, well, go in and talk to them. Then tell them that I know you. What? And how many of us have got a job because we went in, or something because we know you? I'm going to tell you something that a true life experience for me is when I go to the bank, I always go in. I do not like drive-through windows. I don't like to bank online. I like to go in. A few years back, I was going to buy a car. My wife and I was going to buy a car, and I was going to different places. Somebody said, go here and go. And I went into my bank, and I walked in. And when I walked in, people said, hello, Mr. Carter. Knew my name. I've been going in about a year and a half. And I said, well, I'd like to talk to somebody about a loan. So I went in and talked to the manager of that branch and filled out the paperwork. She said, well, come back tomorrow and we have it back. I went back the next day and she said, oh, come on in. She looked it up and she said, well, I got you. Wait a minute here. I said, what happened? She said, well, got your loan approved, but wait a minute. She said, let me do a call. And she sat there and she did a call. And she pulled the phone. She said, yes, this is so-and-so at the branch, and said, oh, yes, I'm sitting here with Mr. Carter, and we approved his, from the headquarters, approved his loan. But I want to ask you, I know Mr. Carter and all this, can't we do better than this on the interest we're going to charge him? So all said, she said, talked to her a little bit, and pretty soon she hung up. She said, yeah, I got that lowered for you. I said, well, thank you. I said, and that was going to save me some money. I mean, she saved me more than a week's pay over the year. And she looked up at me. She said, get to thinking about it. You know why I did this? Because I know you. If you had went through the drive-through for the last year and a half or so, I wouldn't know you. But because you come in here, I talked and asked him. She said, it pay to know people. That reinforces something right here. When we go to God, and a lot of people pray to God, but they don't realize they got to pray to God and says, oh, yes, and I know him. God listens because we know Jesus. That's what he's saying here. They prayed because we know Jesus. And it said, you ask me nothing. Most assuredly, I say to you, whatsoever you ask the Father in my name, he will give you. Until now, you have asked nothing in my name. Asked, and you will receive, that your joy may be full. Why? Jesus is going to be with God. He says, these things I have spoken to you in figurative language, but the time is coming when I will no longer speak to you in figurative language, but I will tell you plainly about the Father. In that day you will ask in my name, and I will not say to you that I shall, and I do not say to you that I shall pray the Lord for you, for the Father himself loveth you, because you have loved me and have believed that I came from God. He said, I'm not going to have to speak for you. You're going to be able to talk to God. We don't pray to Mary. We don't pray to Jesus. We pray to God. And we pray to God, and we only have to say yes in his name. Why? Because we know Jesus. We know Jesus. The greatest thing in a person's life in the world today is to know Jesus and to be known by Jesus. So does that make sense? To be known by Jesus. Somebody asked me sometimes, they said, an older preacher, man said one time, he says, it's not important in the world who you know. I said, really? Somebody told me that, to succeed, it's who you know. And the guy said, no. How to succeed in life is who knows you. Who knows you? That is what is important in knowing Jesus knows you. And God can know you because why? Oh, he belongs to my son. He is my disciple. He is my child. In some ways, I know this is a silly analogy, but to me on earth, I see this in the sense I'm a grandfather more than once. Somebody asked me, how many grandchildren you have? I'm proud to tell you, I've got 13 grandchildren. Great, I got that. I got grandchildren. But the thing about it is, in a sense, because of my sons and my children, I have grandchildren. Which one do you love the most? Well, children or grandchildren? Well, I can't tell you that because I love them both. But I couldn't have my grandchildren if I didn't have my children. We couldn't be God's children today. How many children do you have? Well, I have a bunch of children because it's my children and my grandchildren. That's the way we are with God. We belong to God because of Christ. Verse 28, I came from the Father and have come into the world again. I leave the world and go to the Father. His disciples said to him, see, now you are speaking plainly and using no figurative of speech. Now we are sure that you know all things and have no need that anyone should question you. But this we believe, that you came from God. Here, they had heard it, they had seen it, but now, he said, you've told us plainly, now we know you came. There had been, I think up to this point, the disciples had some doubt. They had some doubts. Here, just before his death, they came to realize, now we know, we understand that you are from God. Jesus answered them, do you now believe? Indeed, the hour is coming. Yes, that and now come, that you will be scattered, each to his own, and will leave me alone. And yet I am not alone, because the Father is with me. These things I have spoken to you, that in me you may have peace in the world. Well, You will have tribulation, but be of good cheer. I have overcome the world. They was not going to have it easy. They was not going to have an easy time of it. I have the privilege this year, or next year, I guess it is, scheduled to do a wedding for my oldest grandchild. It's going to be a privilege. I'm going to go to Wichita, Kansas and do a wedding if all works out. And it's going to be a privilege, but I'm going to be so happy. But I'm going to talk to them, both of them, before, and tell them I'm proud of them, and tell them how happy they are going to be, and how if they trust in God, how they will succeed. But I'm also going to tell them, you're going to have some hard times. You're going to have times when you don't agree. You probably have children that sometimes will listen and love you, and sometimes you're going to think they're deaf. But I tell you what, just remember to love God, and you will have a life and a death that will be righteous, wonderful, and rewarding for eternity. God be with you till we meet again.